Good afternoon, beautiful people. You're here with Kylie from beautiful Queensland in Australia, and we're going to do every day, every way. So this bag is pretty much, it's a multi-purpose. I'm going to be making it as a diaper bag for my daughter-in-law's sister, and it has a couple of different strap options. So you have your padded handles here, you have your carry strap, you have your backpack option, and then there's a stroller strap there. So I will be doing all of the strap options except for the padded handles there. I have done these padded handles before in two videos. So one is the catch-all caddy and the other one is road trip. Alright, so let's get cracking and we'll go through. Now this one I think might be an older pattern. Didn't actually look at when it was published. Yeah, 2016. It doesn't have the cutting layouts in it. As you guys know, I use these folders for my patterns. They're just a folder you can get from any office supply store. They have clear sleeves. I stick the pattern in and then I can just flip through and see it. I don't have loose pages everywhere where I forgot where I've put it or they get mixed up. Okay, so I have quilted, cut and quilted my pieces. In the pattern you're gonna need to read it, and they're gonna have you cut out main, lining and soft and stable, or I use double-sided foam, adhesive double-sided foam that I get from Spotlight here in Australia. And with that you're gonna cut out a set A, a set B and a set C. So the first piece that we're going to cut is our inner divider. Then we have the front and back facing, which I may end up changing this. I'm not sure because I've still yet decided which side I'm going to have what with my fabric. After the facing on set A, we're gonna cut the bag front pocket, also the two side pockets from set A. Set B is the bag back, the pocket, back pocket, and the strap pad. So there's three pieces for that strap pad. From set C we do the side strips as well as the zipper strip from set C. Then we go on to an inner divider, stabilizer sleeve, pocket A and B binding, shoulder pad binding, side strip binding, which there's two of, pocket C and D binding. I'm doing a polka dot one. Pocket E binding, pocket C and D border. Pocket D facing. There is 2 there. C and D facing. Sorry about that, guys. Then we're on to the carry strap, which is quite long. So you're not going to need to cut a big long piece and then another piece that we're going to sew together on that. Then we have 2 strap tabs, backpack strap and tabs in these here. So we'll cut the tabs from this piece as stroller strap. Then we go on to our interfacing, fusible interfacing. So we do an inner divider. We cut interfacing for pocket D border, pocket C border, pocket D facing, and pocket C. With the mesh, we're going to cut it for pocket E1 and E2. So there's the little strip and the big strip. We'll put our zipper in the middle of that. With our strapping, we have 2 pieces for our strap tabs. We have 2 for our stroller strap. Big one for our carry strap. And these are our 2 for the backpack straps. And then we have 2 tabs for the backpack straps. Optional in the not optional, sorry, I jumped ahead a bit. There's also meant to be A and B interfacing, but I'm not using a border on those pockets. So with the pockets, so you guys know and can plan your fabric, the front pocket is referred to as pocket C. So that's the front pocket. The back pocket is referred to as pocket D. And then there's pockets on the sides. So let me show here. So there's pockets here. A bit like UTB, Ultimate Travel Bag, has pockets there as well. And then there's a front pocket and a back pocket here. So I'm choosing not to do a border on these pockets here, which are A and B. They are referred to, the side pockets, A and B. And I'm not going to do this pink border just there. So with the borders, I'm pretty sure I cut matching fabric. I just don't want to have that different there. As well as no interfacing for A and B. I didn't cut the border material for A and B. So as far as that goes, that's the only thing, and the padded handles are the only thing that I'm not doing the same as the pattern. Like I said earlier, with the padded handles, they're very easy to make. I have 2 videos on my channel, Catch All Caddy and Road Trip, that show how to do those padded handles if you need help with that. And as well with our list, we need 2 lots of binding. As you guys know, I prepare mine ahead of time. So we have our 2 binding. There's 2 zippers that need to be cut, 2 pieces. The measurements for that, guys, is always on this piece here, and I can show this because this is shown in the shop. You can look at this freely. So you'll find your zipper pieces, the pieces that you need of hardware, what hardware and everything you need in here. Now, they do have 1.5 inch strapping for certain straps on this bag. I will only be doing 1 inch due to the fact that that is the size of the webbing I have. So in saying that, with the material I cut for the coverings on the handles, I cut them 1 inch smaller. So going width, say for example it says to cut them 4 inches, I cut mine 3 inches due to the fact that I'm only using 1 inch webbing. Also, we have a heap of hardware. Let me get it, guys. The hardware that is needed is 6 swivel hooks, 3 sliders. Now this is if you do the same strap options as me. With the padded handles, I think that uses D-ring to join onto the tabs. So you would need to add 4 rectangle rings if you choose to do the padded handles to join to the tabs on there. Also 4 triangle rings, 3 zip pulls. In the pattern they put feet on the bottom of the bag, so I have the 6 feet here. This is totally optional, you do not have to put these. We also have magnetic closures, which with needing the facings and everything, I'm gonna say that's for the pocket on the front and back. I have 2 sizes here. The smaller one, I'm pretty sure this is about 14, size 14, and this is the bigger one. I'm not quite sure yet which one I'm going to use. It just depends on how it looks on the pocket. So I have my magnetic closures, and we need 2 of those. So there'd be 1 for the front, 1 for the back. I'm also going to put my badge on, provided I can get it to go under where the bracket won't be seen on there. So I'll probably put it up near where I'm going to put the extra strip. And that is it, guys, for the hardware. There is optional in the pattern to do a change mat. So I have added the change mat. As you can see, I've done my double-sided foam there, and I've got the fabric on the top, and on the other side I have a waterproof material. So then that way, changing baby any mess, it's just easy to wipe off. For this you need, that's why I have 2 different bias binding here. So you need a certain size in your bias binding, and then other than that it's just 1 piece of Velcro that we're going to cut in half. So that is it as far as what you're going to need for this particular bag, cut, quilted and all that. let's move on to the actual construction, in the pattern, it starts out with B, which is quilting all your pieces, C, just cutting them into the pieces that are needed. Then it goes down to number 2, which is straps, handles, and bias binding. This is on page 3 at the top. Next, it wants us to do the padded handles, but as I mentioned earlier, you can refer to my other videos for that. So then we go across onto page 4, and we're going to go down to C, optional, make the backpack straps. We're going to need the material we cut for the backpack straps, 2 swivel hooks, 2 sliders, and 2 rectangle rings for this one. We'll set them aside. We're just going to take our pieces, right sides together, and from top to bottom on both of them, just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Once that is done, we'll press it open at the machine, at the iron. We'll press the seam open. So we'll do this one. All sewn down. There's the seam pressed open. You want to try and press it to the middle of the strap as best you can. And we're going to turn the strap the right side out. It will end up looking like that. I pressed it again just to get that seam back in the center. From this piece, we're going to cut a smaller piece. The information for this is page 4, part C, and then it goes to the top of page 4, and it will tell you the length you need to cut for that. Next, we will get our webbing or strap stabilizer and put it down the center. Same with the tabs. Once that's done, we'll just sit them aside for now. With your straps, the backpack straps, once you put the stabilizer in, you're going to want to make sure the fabric just extends past it for a 1/4 inch. That's on both ends of the straps and both straps as well. With the 1/4 inch gap there on one end, we're going to turn it under. So we're going to turn that back in like that. It will go in. I'll do it properly off camera. With that tucked in, we just need to stitch all 4 edges on this. So the other end will be left raw with our little 1/4 inch gap there. One end tucked in, one end raw. We'll do that for both straps. There we go, all sewn down. There's the finished end and there's the raw end. Next, what we want to do is grab our 2 sliders and our 2 swivel hooks. With the seam end, seam side up, and your slider right side up, you come up through one and then go down. In the book it will tell you how much to leave here. that, and we go to the machine and we sew it down. So I just did the square with the X in the middle, and I started just here and I went up there, and then when I finished I came back down this side just to sew these ends down here so they don't get caught. Alright, so the next step is, with our seam still up, I want to grab one of the swivel hooks and put our strap through, and we're going to go up through our slider and back down. So we'll go ahead and do that with both our straps. Once they are both the same, like this one here, we'll just sit it aside. And there's our raw end there. So that one will get done the same. Next we're going to move on to our strap tabs. So you get your stabilizer and your little piece of cover there. Just going to put it in the middle. Make sure we have an equal distance at each end. Take it to our machine and sew around all four edges. Once we've done that, just going to grab our triangle ring and with the seam up, pop it through, bring the ends together, just take that to the machine and sew across the end there, just to stop that from falling off, and we'll do that with both of them. Now we are on to part D on page 4, if you choose to make this carrying strap. So these straps are totally optional. So we're going to do the carrying strap, and what you need there is, most of the time you need to cut 2 pieces for your strap. So you should have those 2 swivel hooks, 1 slider, your 3 pieces for the strap pad, shoulder pad bindings, and then your other binding. So the first step would be to get your 2 pieces of your strap. Now I was lucky enough, I was able to cut the length of the strap in one entire piece, so I don't need to make the join, but you'd probably find that you would need to cut 2, depending on your fabric of course. So the first step, what we're going to do is get the 2 pieces, do right sides together, take it to your machine, sew a 1/2 inch across here to join them, and we'll go to the iron and we'll press them open. So say for example that's my 1/2 inch seam, we're going to press them open, and then I would open it back out again like this, and I would sew each one down. So I'd sew that one down, and then I would sew this one to the other piece coming out here. Once that's done, we're going to fold it right sides together and sew a 1/4 inch seam down the entire length of it. Then once that's done and we turn it right side out and we're putting our stabilizer in by sewing down the edges of your join, it's going to stop the stabilizer getting caught on there when you're trying to thread it through. Strap is all done. I put the long edge together, sewed my 1/4 inch, then I pressed my seam, turned it right side out, and I inserted this stabilizer. What we need to do next is leave equal amounts on each end, and we're going to turn both ends under. So we'll turn both ends to the inside, give a nice neat clean finish on there. Once that's done, sew around all 4 edges. There we are. Ends are tucked in nicely. All 4 edges are sewn down. I go 1/8 around the edge. Once that's done, it's pretty much the same as the last one we did. So you want to get your wide mouth slider. If you have, mine's flat, but if you have the one that's curved, you want the curved side up, and then you want on your strap to have the seam up. So we'll go through the bottom over there. In your book on page, in your pattern on page 5, it will tell you the distance here that you need to leave. Next we need to sew this down with a square and your X. All done. So once that's done, with the seam still up, get your swivel hook, put it on. So your hook is on the top. That's the seam. Right side up. Don't let your strap twist on you. Bring it up. And over the other side. So it'll look like that. With this end, again, seam up, grab your hook. It will tell you in your pattern the distance to leave, and we'll just repeat what we did on here with the slider and sewing it down with your box. The X in the middle. That strap will be complete. There we are, all finished. So that's our carry strap done. In the pattern, it then goes on to the strap pad for our carry strap, but I need to change my cotton for the binding on that, so I thought I would just wait a minute, and I'm just going to finish the rest of the straps that go with this bag. So next are the tabs, and they're identical to the tabs we made not long ago. That was smaller, so we just fold right sides together. So along your long edge, from top to bottom, 1/4 inch, press that open, your seam, turn right side out, then insert your stabilizer. All done. I inserted the stabilizer sew the 1/8 all the way around to stitch it all down. Make sure it's up the right way with your seam down. So good side up, triangle ring up. Put them together. 1/8 across the bottom to secure that. All done here. On your pattern, page 5, it's going to show you 2 measurements. Let me see if I can, there we go. There. Here. And here. We'll mark those down. Just sit these 2 aside. Last, with the straps, if you choose to make it again, optional, is the stroller straps. So you're just going to need your stroller strap. Again, fold it in half, press your seam open, turn right side out. You'll take your stabilizer. Also going to need the last of your 2 swivel hooks. Here we have the stabilizer inserted. On one end you want to leave, it says in your pattern how much to leave as a raw edge. So unturned, just leave it natural. The left over, you want to turn that under to create a nice finish. Stitch 1/8 all the way around. Also in your pattern on page 5, it will show a measurement that we need to mark. Once that's done, we're going to get the end with the raw edge. Have this on the seam side, and we're going to bring the raw edge up to that line. And put a clip on that just to hold it. Next we need our swivel hook, and we put the finished end through the swivel hook like so. Bring it over. We want to bring the finished end down to where our stabilizer finishes on the opposite end. So right there like that. Then we'll go over to the machine, stitch along here, come up, do your square with your cross in it, and then just come down and finish it. So we want this end here to line up with the end that is inside the raw edge part, like so. That is what it looks like finished, just like that. So that will then be the stroller straps done, which then completes all of the straps and handles and stuff, except for, like I said at the beginning, the padded handle, which I do have done in another video. Now that we've done all the straps, I'm going to go back to the strap pad that I skipped. So I just took the 2 big ones, and in the pattern it says, you know, to put lining sides together. I was gonna alternate it and have the dark and the light, but then I changed my mind. But I just went and sewed 1/8 down each side just to hold them together. You want to take your strap pads, your strap pad binding, I think it is, and fold it over and put it on one of your small ends on the little piece, and I sewed down just under 1/4 of an inch there, and then we'll fold it around and sew on the very edge there, just to sew that binding down. It will look like that. There's one side and there's the other side. So I'm going to have mine this way up. So I'll finish that other side. Then I will just do 1/8 again. I will center this so it's equal on each end here. And then I'm just going to tack it down again with 1/8 straight down the side, each side there, just these two, not the short ones. There we go, all done. So next up, with our carrying strap pad, what the pattern wants us to do is to curve our corners just there. So in your pattern, you're going to have the size of a circular object it wants you to use. You just get the edge of it and line it up with this edge and this edge, and then go along with your pen and mark the curve. Do the same on all 4 corners, and once you cut it out, it will look like that. Then after that, the only thing left to do is to bind it. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone would know how to do that, but just in case, I'll quickly do a run through. So you want to pick a spot to start. Actually, I'll go this way. So I'm going to start here, and I'll leave this here loose to join. So I will curve the binding all the way around until we get probably to about here on the curve. That's when I will come back and show how I actually join my binding together. There we go, lovelies, all done. So I started my sewing here and I ended it there. So now the way I do my binding on the finish is I have this out a little bit and I bring this over. Now you got to cut your binding, you overlap your binding and cut it the same as it is the width. So if this was 2.5 inch binding, I would overlap it and I would cut it at 2.5 inches. I'm currently, same as if it was a 2.25, you'd overlap it and you'd cut it at 2.25. I'm currently working on 2 inch binding, so I have my marker here, that is 2 inches, and to make it easier to know when it's overlapped 2 inches, instead of having this, you know, flush with that and then coming over the top like that, I have it slightly out a bit and I bring it over so then you can see your 2 your 2-inch mark, you start measuring from here down. So from that edge down to here is 2 inches. There we go. Set that out of the way. Now the best way I remember how to bind, I know Annie does it a different way to me. I can't wrap my head around that method. This is how I've always done it. You fold that down, that, bring the right hand side over, that to the corner, like that. Just so that is clear. And I'll just bring this up and put a clip. And just so you know that you've done it correctly, hold it there. Follow the finger crease you put in it. I'll undo this, tuck that in, because when you sew that will get cut off, but this is just so you can see that it's correct. And there you go, joined. You don't have, you know, it too loose. It is nice. That will sew down beautifully, and then I'll be able to turn it. So that is how I remember how to do it, because sometimes if it's not clear, sometimes when people do it, they somehow twist it. So then once you sew it and go to do it, it's twisted like this, and it's not correct. So I always have the left hand side, I open it, I fold this down. So this here comes down and meets the bottom in a nice straight line. So this edge here goes along there. Good finger crease. Bring the right hand side over. This corner joins to here. Okay, so this one here joins to here, and that way you know it's not twisted. And if I just hold that, whoop, I'll bend this up to give myself a bit of that flexibility room. See, I still have it pinched. Open it out, take it to your machine, sew along that line, trim off the excess, and that is how you join your binding. There we go, lovelies, all done, bound. Now all that's left to do with that is just to thread our carriage strap through the center. There we go, all done. So now we can sit that aside. Next up are our pockets A and B. So these are the side pockets, and we'll get them out. on the pattern, it wants us to draw a line from side to side. It will have on page 5 at the bottom, it's under number 3, pockets. It will have a measurement there on how much you need to measure from the top down, and then draw your line all the way across. Same with the other pocket, same measurements, and draw your line. Next, if you're doing the borders, you need to get pocket A and B borders. I'm not doing borders on these pockets, but I can still demonstrate what needs to be done. So I'm going to use this piece here. You have it, and with that you will also have cut a piece of interfacing for each pocket A border and B border. You need to get your interfacing and place it on your border, and you want to center it. So you'll roughly have like I think it's about a 1/4 inch gap all the way around. And then just take it to your iron. If you don't have, one moment, if you don't have one of these Teflon sheets to put over the top to iron that down, then I suggest you just flip it over. Try and keep it as centered as you can and iron it that way. So we want to iron both of those onto our borders. Once that's done, we'll get our pocket. I'll just take this away. And you want to do right sides together. So you'll lay it down like that, and you'll lay it just below the line that you marked. Put it down. You're going to sew just a 1/4 inch straight across. Then you want to turn it up, and the piece will come just to the top of the pocket A or B, whichever one you're doing at the time. Give it a good press with your iron to make it sit down. Then you'll get your binding for pocket A and B, and just bind the very top along there on each one. So I'm not doing the border, but I will be binding the top of each one of these. So I'm just going to fold it in half like you normally do. Put it on the top. Sew a scant 1/4 inch all the way across, and then fold it to the other side and just sew down on your very edge. So we'll get these two done. Binding is all finished on both of those pockets. I will set that aside. Next up, we need pockets C and D, the front pockets and back pocket. We're also going to need C and D border, border facing, C and D facing, also C and D interfacing for the facing. Sorry, that was the binding, I grabbed the wrong one. That's the facing, and that's the interfacing. Also, we need the binding for pocket C and D. You need two of your magnets. Now, I'm not using the square by any sewing magnets. I'm using my ones, which are like that. And as I showed at the start, they I have two sizes. So I have the smaller one and the bigger one. They're very strong, but I decided I would go with the bigger one, just given the size of the pockets on these. So I thought the bigger one would be better. So you're going to need two of them. I also wanted to put my badge on. So I did a little bit of measuring and everything else, and I figured that out. But firstly, I'm just going to go and put my interfacings on to the appropriate pieces. Then we can move on to what's needed to do the next step in the pockets. They're all attached, except for one, the front one, which is for there. That is purely because I measured out where my badge needed to go, and I put a little bit of stabilizer there, just a bit of a thicker interfacing, and I want to put my badge through and then some more stabilizer over the top, just for the back of the bracket, and that, so it doesn't rub on the pocket, before I put the interfacing over the top of that. So I just thought I'd show you. I'm not going to do that just yet, but I thought I'd show you guys that in case you're wanting to do something similar. So in our pattern, we are up to page 6, part B, and what we need to do is turn over onto our lining side. In the pattern, there is 2 lines that we need to measure from the top down for this one, and from the top down for the next one. We'll draw them from one side to the other, so all the way across both of those lines. Next, there's another 2 measurements. We measure in from each side and draw a line between the other 2 that we did. This is our placement for the magnet. We'll do that on both. Because I'm not using the square sewing magnets from By Any, so if you're using a different magnet like myself, what I did is I took the plate and I tried to figure out the center. So I measured a little bit down from that and a little bit in. This way I can put that there, mark my 2 little marks, and I'll also be able to get the same spot on the bag body for the other side with the placement. So I've marked down on a piece of paper how much I came down and how much I came in for my magnet. That way I'll be able to line them up on the bag body for the other side. So I'll just grab my little knife, my little cutter here. I'm going to mark, just going to cut those 2 marks. There's one. There's the second one. Now it doesn't really matter, I don't feel, which of the two pieces with this type goes where. So I could put, if I show this one, with our pocket, I could put that one, I'll do this one, just move these out of the way so they don't fall off. So I could put that one there, which is the thinner of the two, and I could put the other one onto the bag body, or I could do it the other way around. Doesn't really matter, but I'm thinking I'm going to put the thinner one there, and I'll put the heavier one on the body. Oops, sorry, because with this one, you know, you're going to be opening it and putting your hand in, so I'm thinking the flusher one would probably work better for this. So I'll just go ahead and attach both of those. I just wanted to show, in case you're using a magnet of similar style or the same as mine, I put a bit more interfacing underneath the base plate, and then I have some thicker Decavel. This is only Decavel medium, light I think, no medium, and I'm just going to put that across the top. Now the border will cover it, so that's not an issue with that, but I just wanted to show that I'm going to put that there purely because you just never know. Over time, you know, it may wear through, and I really don't want to take that risk. I would like the bags, I like my bags to last as long as possible, so I always sort of err on the side of caution. So I'll just go and hit that with the iron. There we are, nicely done, both down. So next, with the pattern, what we do, we grab the facing for pocket C and D, place right sides together, and we place it just below the bottom line that we marked on here. Just like that. We'll attach that with a 1/4 inch seam all the way across. Once we do that, take it to the iron and just fold it up and give it a good press, and that'll make it sit up lovely like that, there. There we go, that's what it would look like that. Then just stitch 1/8 across the top to hold it in place. I'm not putting this on though, due to the fact that my magnets are different, and this would interfere with my magnets. But if you're using the buy any sew in ones with the plastic, then you put this over, and that that just covers it to give it a nicer look, essentially. So I will be leaving those off. Next step with the pattern is on the front there's a measurement. We're still on page 6, but we're on the right hand side of the pattern, and there's a measurement to measure from the top down and draw a line from one side to the other. Once that's done, with your border, you want to turn it so right sides together. If you're working with a print like I am, make sure the way you lay it down, when you bring it back up, it's going to be the right way up. So I'll put mine that way. This needs to be sewn down with 1/4 inch, same as the one we done on the lining side. Now you can put a few pins in if you like, just to hold it in place. By all means, draw, mark your 1/4 inch line along there if you like, since you won't be able to use the markers on your machine. So you just draw a 1/4 inch across there. Once that's sewn, it will look like this. Oh, it'll look like that there. And we'll just take it to the iron and give it a good press up. So I have just a bit of Decaville and interfacing and that there, because this is where I put my badge. Once we've done this, we'll just sew across the top of this also with about 1/8, because you just want to essentially tack it down so it doesn't move. Last step for these pockets is just to bind the top. So we get our binding, fold it in half all the way along on the top, sew it down with a scant 1/4 inch, and then turn it over to the other side. So you can either sew it this side and turn it to the back, or you can sew it on the back and bring it to the front. It's entirely your choice on that. I will go and finish this one here off, and then we'll bind the top two on the C and D. They came up beautifully. Loving the way they are turning out at the moment. Okay, so now we can sit them aside. Next up in the pattern, we want to get our 2 pieces of our mesh pocket, also the binding for pocket E as well. So there's my mesh. We're also going to need the zipper that we need for this pocket. That is sort of the end step. So with my binding, what I did is I fold it in half and iron it, and then I fold each side into the center, give that a good hit with the iron, fold it in half again, hit that with the iron, then I go along and put double-sided tape on each side, as you can see there. and that just makes it easier with the mesh. I've done this in all my videos when it comes to putting mesh on zippers. I bound them even when it doesn't call for it in the pattern. That's something I found it easier, and it gives them a nicer, neater, prettier finish in my opinion. So once that's done, we'll take off the tape on one side of our double-sided tape, put our mesh in, do that all the way along, then take off the other side, bring it down so they are level. I just went to my machine and I sewed along the edge. It's I think about 1/8, maybe just under 1/8 along the edge there. So that one is totally done. So then it would just be a matter of putting this one in, but I wanted to try and show you guys the steps. So we'll do this one now. Once I've sewn that one down, I'll get my double-sided tape and I will put it along here, the edge, along there, and put that down on it. Then I would take it to my machine and I would go and sew. I'll stitch in the same line as I did here originally, but then I'll come up on this end and I'll stitch across the top. So I'm stitching all 4 sides down on my zip tape. And once I apply this one to here and sew it down, I'll do exactly the same thing. Ensure that you line them up when you put them down, because your binding is a bit shorter than your mesh. So sort of take note of what I did was I looked, let me see if I can zoom in. Okay. I looked here and there's 1, 2, 3 of the ovals on that side, and there's 2 on this side. So I'll take note of that when I put the double-sided tape here and then attach this to the double-sided tape. Well, when I attach it to the mesh and then attach it, I'll line it up with my other binding on the zipper tape. I just wanted to mention, this is how I put my double-sided tape down on my zipper. I put it, I don't know if you can see that, but there's sort of a different, the zipper tape, the pattern, it looks a bit different here for about the thickness of about 1/8, I think. And so I stick the double-sided tape just above that, and that way when I put the binding on the top and I stitch around, I'll be missing the double-sided tape. I'll just be going in the fabric. The same as when I put the double-sided tape on my binding, I put it as close to the edge for the join in the center as I could, and then that just frees up the edge here where you're going to be sewing it down, so you're not gumming up your needle. Then another thing was the zipper tape piece that you need for this part, because there's 2 pieces of zip tape we had to cut. It's the smaller of the 2. When I put the pocket up against it, I put the mesh here to the edge. So I feel if I do that, instead of maybe, you know, doing it sort of here or something, and then cutting off that bit and this bit, which aren't really long enough to make use of, I'll put it back here. Once I then cut my zip tape, this here is still a usable piece, just less wastage, that's all. I just thought I'd mention that. That came together beautifully. Look at that. Love it. Lastly, we just need to stick the zip pull on, and as you guys know, I always leave it to the last minute, so then you're not dealing with the bump created by the zip pull when you're sewing, you know, with your zipper. So I'll leave it as long as possible before I put the pull on. I usually, well, I tend to always show it one time in my videos how to put it on. You want to get an old pair of scissors, bring it up and nick out 2 teeth on your zip tape on an angle, like that, and get your pull. You want to insert the uncut side just past this opening here, where it comes to have the solid side of the zipper. So just a couple of teeth past that. Insert it a little bit. Insert this one. There we go. And that's that done. That pocket is complete, so we can sit that aside now with the rest. Now in the pattern we're going to get our inner divider, interfacing, as well as the inner divider lining just there. So I already fused my interfacing to the back, and in your pattern it will let you know how far from the edge, from each edge, to have it. We want to do right sides together. Just going to match up the top and the sides. We'll go to our machine. We'll do a 1/4 inch all the way across the long edge of your piece. So when you get them lined up, clip them, pin them, whichever you'd prefer, or just take them to the machine like this and just line them as you go. If they come a bit off center, we'll just sew a 1/4 inch all the way across the top. Once that's done, go to your iron, press your seam, press it towards the lining side. There it is, sewn down. Then I opened it like that, gave it a good press. I actually did it from this side here, and I pressed the seam that way, so towards the lining. So I just did it with the iron. Then we do lining together and bring the two bottom edges to meet, like so, and at the iron give that a good press, and it will create the fox binding like that. Next up, we want to turn it with main fabric together again, so lining sides out. Take the edges together down the bottom. We'll do that a 1/4 inch again, all the way across. Once that's done, it wants us to press it again with that seam towards the lining. Then we can turn it right side out and just give it a good iron again to keep that fox binding there. There we go, all totally done. I pressed it when I turned it in the right way. I just used a little helper here to press it. Then once I turned it, brought that up again, I gave it another good press along here. Now I just need to go to the machine, stitch in the ditch along here all the way to the end. Just going to stitch in the ditch through both layers, just creating that fox binding there. So that's all done, stitched along. Next up in the pattern, which is page 7, D, but down to step 6, there's a measurement. We need to measure the length of this and trim it down. So take equal amounts off each end here. Once that's done, we'll just go to the machine and just sew 1/8 all the way down on both sides there. Both ends trimmed and sewn the 1/8. Next we need to go down. There's a lot of measurements we need to put in. So we'll start working our way through those. I will try and get a colour that is going to be easy to see on this. Just bear with me on that. I have done all the line marking, and hopefully you'll be able to see the marks. I'm going to need to move the fabric, but starting on the left hand side, on your lining side, there's a measurement here which is line I. The next one is here. That is line J. K. L. M. N. Remember, always from the left hand side, working up. Next we'll go to the main fabric side. We have here, working from the left, in line A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Right there. Remember, from the left. Okay, now comes the next bit. So we're going to start on the main fabric side. Going to fold the fabric to line A. Fold it like that. Take it to our machine like this. Fold it along that line. So 1/8 from the line. So what we're going to do is we'll start at the bottom, sewing 1/8 up the edge until we hit the fox binding here, pivot, and sew back down the line we just did. I went along and marked all the ones that need to be done. So firstly there is A, B, D, E, G, H. Do not fold or stitch line C or F. Remember, fold on the line, stitch from the bottom to the start of the fox binding, pivot and come back down 1/8 from that line. That has come together beautifully. There it is, finished. So it's sewn from the bottom up, pivot and come back. Now we need to flip to the lining side and repeat that process on this side. All of them will be done. So that will be I, J, K, L, M, and N. So we don't skip any on the lining side. We just need to repeat what we done there. Fold it on the line. There it is, totally finished. So if you've done it correctly, that's what it should look like, folded. There's our fold lines, our sewing. Alright, so we can put that one aside. And now we're up to the side strip, which we're still on page 7 of the pattern, number 4, which is right down the bottom of the page. There's quite a few measurements that need to be done on this, but I'll go through them each and explain a little bit so you know. So our first one is this one here, and we need to measure from the edge in and draw a line from top to bottom. That is on both ends. There it is there. This is for our pocket A and B placement lines. The next one is this one here. Sorry guys, I had that around the wrong way. I had to just flip it. It's this one here, which is from the bottom up and from the outer edge to our first line. These lines need to be drawn on each end, but only if you're adding the carrying strap or stroller straps on this bag. If you're not adding either of those, these don't apply to you. Also, these measurements here, let me see if I can get a good shot for you guys. From this line here to here, and then these lines in the middle and everything. Now they also only apply if you're going to put buttons or feet on the bag. If you're not wanting to put feet or buttons to act as feet on the bag, then these lines don't matter either. But the measurement for these ones is on page 8. There is a measurement from the outer edge in to here. So here's our first line that we did, and here's the next one. Same on the other side. It's there. Then there's a measurement from the bottom up. And we have from here down, and we just mark these lines from this one across to that one. So let me see. There we are. So there's the first one, and here's our other two. And there's one right in the middle there, then down from the top, and you just mark it from that one to that one, and the same from the bottom up. So you're doing like a grid. So you have a line here, a line here, a line in the middle, then one up from the bottom, from this to this marker, and from the top down, from this marker to this marker. And this is just marking the points for our feet. So you would have one here, one here, one here, and then the same on the bottom, there, there, and there. Now I did these because I do plan on putting feet, like I said at the start. So I'll go ahead and put them in those points, and then I'll come back to you guys. There we go, lovelies, all attached. That's what it looks like on the other side. So this here won't be seen because it will be covered by the stabilizer sleeve, so you won't see this. But there you go. I think they look great. And then lastly, for our markings, we want to flip it over to our lining side. And there's one last measurement that we need to put down for that. And it's right there. The measurement is on page 8. So there it is there. And then there. And this is just where our stabilizer sleeve, that's what those markings are for. Alrighty. Well guys, I am going to call the video here at this point, and I'm going to post this, what I've got done, because it's already around 1.5 to an hour 40, and the lovely ladies and everyone that's been waiting on this have been waiting long enough. I've had one issue after another pop up at the moment. I have my dad living with me now, and my parents are going through a divorce and everything else, so I've sort of had quite a bit going on. It doesn't help that they live in different states either, but with having to transfer all my dad's stuff and everything, it's a lot that keeps interrupting me. Well, not interrupting me, but keeps delaying me with getting this done for you guys. So I'm gonna put this up so at least you can get started, and then tomorrow I should be able to continue more, provided I don't have something else happen. But at this stage it's looking good, but for the interim I wanted to get this up for you guys now. So thanks everyone for joining me with this. I hope you enjoy it so far, and the other one will be up very, very quickly, which will be the last bit for this bag. This is because I've had so many different things happen that it just keeps, like I said, I just keep getting delayed, which is very frustrating for me. So I want to get this out so you guys have got something for this pattern at least. So thank you very much, and I will catch you on the next one, which will be very soon. Bye.